Hello and welcome to Catholic Answers Live. Happy July 3rd to you. It's a bit of a weird day in America today when we have the weekend and then that weird Monday and then the holiday. It happens every now and then, and probably a lot of people are off today. If you're off and this is the first time you've ever heard of us, maybe you're driving and you're usually at work at this hour. Catholic Answers, you can find out all about us at Catholic.com, but we're in San Diego, California, and what we do is we explain and defend the Catholic faith. And you can always reach us at Catholic.com. There's a website there if you want to get in touch with us. We've got a great Monday show for you, a very fine Monday show. A second hour, Dr. Francis Beckwith will be here, and we're going to talk a little bit about church and state. This is a big deal here in America these last few years. We're struggling over and some of the Supreme Court cases that were just handed down at the end of June are involved in this. And tomorrow being the 4th of July, we thought perfect time to talk to a philosopher whose work involves the issue of church and state. So hang around for second hour, and you can call and ask your questions or make your points. This hour, we've got a wonderful opportunity for you to get filled with the energy and the insight to go out there and share the faith. We're talking about sharing the good news this hour. Our guest is Deacon Harold Burke Sivers, who you may know from his many appearances on EWTN, both television and radio, or from his other work. Or you may know him from his books or from his speaking wherever you are. If you've ever heard him speak, you probably still haven't gotten over it. He's the author of 5 books, including a book that every American should read. I just love this book, Father Augustus Tolton, the slave who became the first African-American priest. It should have been a movie. They should have made this a movie 20 years ago. Deacon Harold Burke Sivers, thanks for being here with us.
Well, Cy, thank you so much for having me back. It is great to be with you and the Catholic Answers family again.
It's funny. I was driving the other day and I heard you. I was listening to this guy talking about the Catholic faith, and you come in the middle sometimes. I'm like, wow, this guy's really good. It was you. You were talking with somebody on. I forget who you were talking to on EWTN. I was like, oh man, he is good. We should.
Yeah, I was. I was filling in for Donovan.
For Colin Donovan. That's right. It was on Open Line. That's right.
Yeah, he was under the weather, so they asked me to fill in, and I was happy to do it.
Well, nice job. Very nice job. Sharing the faith is your thing. This is, I think you really are one of the most sought after speakers in the whole Catholic world. People want, and it's one reason, I think, that I'm going to leave a talk that you give better at loving the Lord and sharing the Lord. And that's what we want. We want to be better at loving the Lord and sharing the Lord. So give us some tips on sharing the faith.
Yeah. So the foundation is Ephesians 4:15, where St. Paul says, "Preach the truth in love." Right. And I think the problem is that we want to preach the truth. We want people to have the same experience of Jesus in the faith that we have. And sadly, the way we think that we do it sometimes is kind of beating people over the head. If I just give them a bunch of facts, if I just show them the catechism, if I just show them this text proof, if I just show them St. Thomas Aquinas or something like that, they'll get it. And really what I found to be effective, it's about dialogue, right? It's about sharing your story and your witness and your experience, because you always want to leave the person saying, wow, I want to hear more of that. Not getting the faith across in the sense like, I just won this argument, I just won this debate. That may be fine, but is the person any closer to wanting to learn more about the Catholic faith? So in my head, I'm always thinking, how do I get this person in front of me to want to listen to more of what I have to say? Even if I don't have an answer, I'm not exactly sure about that, but I will definitely find out and get back to you, and then follow up with the person. You always want to keep the doors open, even people that vehemently disagree with you. I used to be a person that just, I just wanted to just shut people down. I didn't want to have time to have people that disagreed with what I was saying, But I'm finding now that, especially in this culture today, engaging people who have a different mindset, a different way of approaching things, but at least if they're willing to listen, you can enter into a conversation And that is the key. You start with conversation. Then it's not adversarial. There's no polemics or triumphalism. You're just exchanging ideas and entering into that person's experience. And then my job is to our job is through our baptismal call to holiness as evangelizers is to bring Christ into that conversation, to bring Christ into that experience. Because what you're doing is you're bringing light into the darkness.
888-318-7884, 888-318-7884. Deacon Harold Burke Sivers, our guest. It's more and more when we're trying to share the faith, though, I feel like we're trying to share it with people who, they're not our opponents. They just don't have any idea what religion is. Like, they don't get it, what we're doing when we're being religious. I think that I don't know what they imagine that it is, but whatever they're imagining, it's imagination. They don't have an experience of God. They don't have maybe they don't even have people in their life who talk about God. So how do you share the faith with those people?
Yeah, so the kind of one of the mantras of the culture is I'm not religious, I'm spiritual.
Yeah.
Right? So basically when they say that, what they mean is I am not tied down to one particular religious expression or ideology. I'm open to all different ways of thinking about faith and spirituality. So especially a lot of young people, if they don't abandon the faith for atheism, they'll take a little bit of Buddhism, a little bit of Hinduism, a little bit of Catholicism, a little bit of this to kind of make up their own religion. Or they'll settle for, well, all I really have to do is just be a good person.
Yeah.
And if I'm a good person, I mean, who cares about this mass and religion and prayer? Just be good to everybody. If everybody just did that, but here's the thing, Jesus is God. And that is not the standard that Jesus holds us to, right? So the rich young man, right, approached Jesus. What must I do to have eternal life? Well, Jesus says you have to follow the commandments, and Jesus lists 6 of them. And he goes, I've done that since my youth. Look how good I am, right? I'm following the law.
Right.
Did Jesus say, well, just following the rules is good enough? Just kind of do it. Is that good? Well, you're just good to go. Just put it in cruise control. Just put it in neutral. Just coast your way into heaven. He didn't do that. He said, there's one more thing you must do. Take all your possessions, sell them, give it to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come follow me. See, people don't want religion because they don't want to commit to anything. They just want to just float around and just like do whatever. And see, and what is religion? Religion comes from a Greek word ligion. That's where we get the word ligament from. It means to join. So religion is to rejoin, right? Because we lost the faith, or we lost our relationship with God in the fall. And God has been trying to reestablish the relationship with us. And he does that completely and in its fullness in our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So religion means you're committing to something, right? You're committing your life to something. And that's just not a place where a lot of people in our culture are today. So you have to go in with the mentality of evangelization, of understanding that, okay, then how do I meet this person in this space where they're not interested in religion, in rejoining anything or joining anything? What they want is, okay. So what we have to do is show them, why we are people of faith, why religion matters. Again, and you start off that conversation with the personal story and witness and go from there.
Again, 888-318-7884. If you'd like some tips for sharing the faith, Deacon Harold Burke Sivers, one of the very best, is here to help you with that. Your call's welcome, 888-318-7884. It doesn't sound too much like your strategy is babying people into it. It does sound like there's a kind of a challenge in it. I mean, I don't guess that you probably just meet people, like, I don't know, on the street and challenge them, but it sounds like at some point this involves a call to live a more robust, maybe even a more difficult life than people are living.
Yeah, so you can't be an effective evangelizer or witness to the faith unless you're evangelized yourself. Especially with teenagers, man, they can spot a fake a mile away. Teenagers, they have some carrots and they can tell, okay, this words are coming out of this guy's mouth, but he doesn't believe anything he's saying. And I mean, kids can tell. And so what you have to do is you have to be convicted yourself. So for us as Catholics, that is participating deeply in the sacramental life of the church. That means receiving Jesus in the Eucharist. That means going to Eucharistic adoration. That means going to receive the sacrament of reconciliation regularly. That means that, having possibly some spiritual direction. That means if you're a man belonging to a men's group or to a Bible study, always finding ways to enrich and enhance our life of faith so that when we meet others, we have something to give them. Because look, you can't give what you don't have. If someone asks me for $20 and my wallet's empty, I can't give them anything. So we have to fill ourselves with the richness and beauty and truth of the faith so that we can give ourselves to others. And the thing is this, I don't go out looking for these things. I don't go out and stop somebody's street. Hey, let me tell you about Jesus. I mean, that's just not me. What typically happens, Cy, is that, I always wear, when I travel, I always wear a crucifix, right? Because I can't wear clerics as a permanent deacon, especially when I'm traveling or speaking. And so I always wear a crucifix. And sometimes on the plane, I'm not embarrassed or ashamed of my faith. I wear it openly on the plane with a miraculous medal. And people will stop me and ask, hey, I like your necklace. Or hey, what does that mean? Or what denomination are you? It's like, right? So it's those kind of very simple openings that lead into a conversation about faith.
Deacon Harold Burke Sivers, our guest. Lines are beginning to fill, but there are lines open. You are welcome to call 888-318-7884. We'll take a quick break, right back with more tips on sharing the faith with Deacon Harold Burke Sivers on Catholic Answers Live right after this.
Catholic Answers Live.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Real Estate for Life. Real Estate for Life connects homebuyers and sellers to real estate agents while supporting pro-life organizations. On the web at realestateforlife.org.
Are you ready to spread your wings? Wings is the weekly newsletter that's packed with exclusive news, program information, features, and updates of all that's going on at the Global Catholic Network. To sign up, go to EWTN.com, click subscribe, enter your name and email address, and you'll start getting your wings every week. Get your wings today. It's the weekly newsletter from EWTN, the Global Catholic Network.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I don't know do we still have it's July. Do we still have the early bird special to if you're going to the conference? Check out CatholicAnswersConference.com. We'd love it if you'd come. I'm sure they have got the early bird special still going through the 4th of July. It's in September. The last full weekend of September each year we get together here in San Diego. We get a great room rate over at the Hyatt, $175 a night, which is actually, I don't know, it's very low. I don't know if it's half, but it's very low for Southern California, and it's a great weekend to be here in this part of the country. So if you'd like to come, check it out, CatholicAnswersConference.com. Our guest this hour is Deacon Harold Burke Sivers. We're talking about sharing the faith with one of the very best at sharing the faith. As a matter of fact, just before we went on the air, and I'm coming to calls, Jedediah, I'll get to you first, but it's astounding to me, your travel. Where are you heading out to now?
Yeah, so tomorrow on the 4th of July, I'm heading to New Zealand. It'll be my first trip to New Zealand. I've been to 29 countries. This will be country number 30. And I'll be spending 4 days there. I'm being brought in by a group called Evangelion, which is a group that's dedicated to sharing the faith. I'll be there for 4 days, speaking at a university and some parishes. And then I'm going to Papua New Guinea for 4 days, and they're expecting a lot of people, from what I understand. Evidently, from what I'm told, when I saw the itinerary, the Papal Nuncio is going to be there, the Bishops' Conference is going to be there, and
you better
I'm
bring
speaking
it.
to. Oh, I know, I'm nervous.
Don't mess up in front of the Papal Nuncio.
I know. So, but I'm excited. Papua New Guinea. I always do research for countries I've never been to before. And Papua New Guinea, I was thinking, okay, they weren't specific about what they wanted me to talk about, just can be generalities. And I saw they have a huge issue with domestic violence, and against violence particularly violence against women. And I said, aha, Mulieris Dignitatem, John Paul II, and the idea of theology of femininity. So I'm going to make sure that that's one of the talks that I'm giving. And then after 4 days there, I'm speaking to clergy, I'm speaking to religious members of parliament and government officials in a separate talk, a huge youth rally. They're expecting 10,000 youth at that, and then a talk for everyone, and then after that, I go to Australia for 10 days.
Good Lord.
Yeah, I know.
Good Lord.
So, and I'll say hi to Charbel for you guys.
Oh,
there.
yeah, we love Charbel. Yeah.
In fact, I'm bringing them here in September. I'm bringing Charbel, Raish, and Robert Haddad, who's the Tim Staples
great.
of Australia. I know, yep, and Kevin Bailey. And I'm bringing them. They're going to be doing a 2-week speaking tour in the United States, and we're coming to the Catholic Answers Conference.
Oh, so Robert Haddad's coming to our conference?
Yes.
Because this guy is a great apologist. He's one. People don't know him here in the United States, but I'm so glad.
That's why I'm bringing them. Yeah, I'm sponsoring them. And if people want to, help with the expenses for this, because it's going to be, all the events are going to be free at parishes. We're going to Phoenix, then the LA, SoCal area, then to Kansas City, St. Louis, and Dallas.
So you said you started a sentence. You got to finish it. How can people help if they want to help?
Yeah, just go to deaconharold.com and go to the donate and just specifically put on there the Perusia USA tour. Perusia USA tour. Yeah.
Wonderful. And in addition to Robert Haddad, Charbel is wonderful talking about Islam and Christianity. People should hear him just talk about that. Well, good. That's great. I hope that there's folks, prayerful people right now listening who will pray for Deacon Harold, because prayer matters. When the evangelist goes out there, pray for him, especially, I don't know, for myself, for that message about peace in the home that he's going to bring to Papua New Guinea, but for success wherever he goes. I'm going to go to callers, Deacon, if you're ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
888-318-7884. Jedediah in Hastings, Nebraska, listening on Spirit Catholic Radio. Jedediah, we're glad you're here. Go ahead with your question for Deacon Harold.
Thank you for taking my call. I was curious if Deacon Harold could outline some of the responsibilities that godparents and sponsors have, and kind of dovetail that with sharing the faith as a lifelong relationship beyond the day of the ceremony.
Oh, Jedediah, that is a great question. And I don't think I've been asked that yet. That's fantastic. So here's the deal. In canon law, godparents, or formerly called sponsors, is an ecclesiastical office in the church. Okay, not like priest or bishop or deacon, something like that, but an ecclesiastical office in the sense that there are responsibilities that come with it. It's not just an honorific. You just don't become a godparent because, it's Jimmy's turn or Aunt Sally's turn to be, and it's just there as an honor. No. There's responsibilities and obligations that come with accepting the role of a godparent. And your role is to basically help the parents with the spiritual development of that child. All right, so I'll give you a real life example. So I'm the godparent for several children. One of them now just turned 16 years old, right? So on her day.
Hey, Jedediah, I hope you can hang on for a quick second. We had a little.
Okay, we're back now.
Okay, we're back. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm the godparent for several children, but one in particular just turned 16. So what I do is on her birthday, I make sure I acknowledge, send a spiritual bouquet, or in actually a real bouquet of flowers or chocolate, something like that. On her saint's name day. Also, and on the day of her baptism, and I always reach out and contact her. She has my contact information. If she has any questions spiritually, she can come and ask me. When I go on pilgrimages, I always bring back spiritual gifts for her, whether it be rosaries or different spiritual or religious items like that. So, to help have some visuals and some tangible things she can have there that will help her grow in her faith. And that's really what our job is. It's not just to be there, put on the official paperwork, you're the godparent. You're there for the spiritual development of that child for their entire life, right? So even when they become adults, you're still helping that person spiritually in their life. I hope that helps, Jedediah.
Jedediah, what do you think?
Yeah. That sounds wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, God bless you, and thank you for the call. Tell you what, I'm going to send you a little book we have called The Words of Eternal Life, True Happiness and Where to Find It. It's just a lovely little read about the Catholic faith from Jimmy Akin, and you can have it for you or give it, share it with someone else, but I'd just like you to have it. It was a beautiful call. 888-318-7884 is the number, 888-31-TRUTH. Deacon Harold Burke Sivers is here with us this hour, a great evangelist, a wonderful speaker and writer. And if you've got questions about sharing the faith in your home or in your community or wherever you are, 888-318-7884. Off to Oklahoma we go now. Jane is listening on 93.7 FM. Jane, thank you for waiting. Go ahead with your question for Deacon Harold.
Hi. Well, I was listening to Deacon Harold, and I appreciated his point about how you need to develop a rapport with the people with whom you're evangelizing. However, I detected a little bit of a patronizing sarcasm in his voice, and he probably did not really realize it. But it's something I hear a lot from clergy, and I think it's important that we change it. When he talks about people who say they're spiritual but not religious, his voice took a little bit of a sing-songy, sarcastic tone, and that is not the way to approach people who say that. So my question is, he used as an example that you have to be all in on religion, and the example was that Christ told the rich man to go and sell everything and come and follow him. So my question is whether Deacon Harold has sold everything that belonged to him.
Okay, a couple of things. First of all, when I was giving that example, the inflection and change in my voice was the representing how the culture portrays it. So people will say, well, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. I mean, so that is what you're talking about there. But when you're actually talking with someone, obviously you wouldn't say that to someone that you're trying to engage in a conversation, establish a rapport with. So that's the first thing. The second thing, as far as giving up everything, I had a career where I was making well into the six figures. And in 2012, I walked away from that to speak and to write and to dedicate the rest of my life to serving Christ and the Catholic faith. So the answer to your second question is yes. So, but let me give you an example of what I'm talking about, Jane. So going back to your first question, and I think I've told this story before. I was giving a talk for Theology on Tap. There was a young man there who was a bartender, not a person of faith at all. And during the talk, I asked a rhetorical question: how many of you would give your kids drugs and alcohol? And he sarcastically, I think trying to be funny, said, I would. And so I said, okay, I'm gonna have to talk to you when we're done. And everybody laughed. So afterward, he did come up to me. He goes, well, and I said to him, what parent in their right mind would give their kids drugs and alcohol? He said, it's like when I do the shrooms, man, which he meant hallucinogenic mushrooms, right? And he said, he said, there's this energy or this force of the universe, and we have to be one and connect with the energy of the universe. And the way I do that is I drive into the gorge, he means the Columbia River Gorge, and I walk into the woods and I find a beautiful spot and I eat the mushrooms, I get high. And when I get high, I feel connected to the rocks and to the trees and to the universe. So I'm listening to him. I said, let me understand what you're saying. You believe that there's something beyond yourself, something greater than yourself. You call it a force or energy. And you also feel this need to connect with this energy of the universe. And the way you do that is you drive to a beautiful place, you eat these mushrooms and get high. And in that euphoria, you feel connected to the rocks and the trees and everything around you and to the universe. He said, yeah. I said, oh, I can totally appreciate where you're coming from. I said, let me tell you how we do it as Catholics. We also believe that there's something beyond ourselves that's greater than ourselves. We call him God. And we also feel this need to connect with the God of the universe. And the way we do that is we also drive to a beautiful place that's called church. And when we get to this beautiful place, we don't consume mushrooms and get high, but we consume what we call the Eucharist, what we believe to be the body, blood, soul, and divinity of the God of the universe. And when we consume that Eucharist, we are one with all the people we're worshiping with, We're one with nature and we're one with God himself. He was like, yeah, man, and I was like, yeah, man, so we made a connection. I didn't belittle him. I didn't patronize him. I didn't talk down to him. I listened to him and I entered into that conversation, bringing a perspective of faith, to what he said. So that's what I'm talking about there, Jane.
Jane, thank you for the call. You can hear the music. That's the hard break. We've got to take that break. The number is 888-318-7884. If you're looking for tips on how to share the faith, maybe with someone you have in mind that you've been wanting to share the faith with, maybe a member of the family, a friend, someone at work, Deacon Harold Burke Sivers is here to help. 888-318-7884. Are you ready to defend your faith in a world of unbelief? Join us at the 9th Annual Catholic Answers Apologetics Conference. This year's theme, I Believe in God, and it'll help you provide clear and charitable answers to atheism, agnosticism, and plain old indifference. Don't miss what promises to be the event of the season. Join us in San Diego from September 21st through 24th as we welcome our special guest, Dr. Scott Hahn, and an all-star lineup of great Catholic speakers. Spend quality time with your favorite Catholic Answers apologists and enjoy 4 days of fun, fellowship, and adoration of the Almighty. Seats are still available, but they're going fast. Visit CatholicAnswersConference.com or call 888-291-8000 to register. Enter promo code EARLY and save $50. That's CatholicAnswersConference.com.
Want to know more about the origins of the Catholic Church? Joe Heschmeyer explores the beginnings of Christianity in The Early Church Was the Catholic Church. Joe digs deep into the words and actions of those who lived right after the apostles to refute anti-Catholic claims of how the faith was lived back then. Order your copy of The Early Church Was the Catholic Church today at shop.catholic.com or get it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
What if the voice of your deepest doubts about Catholicism rose up in the form of a human being and challenged you to defend your most foundational beliefs? That's the task apologist Trent Horn took upon himself in his new book, Devil's Advocate, a dialogue with his own best objections against the faith that he professes and defends. You can stand up against your doubts, and Trent will show you how. Pick up your copy of Devil's Advocate today at shop.catholic.com or at a good Catholic bookstore near you. Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kellett, your host. Deacon Harold Burke Sivers is our guest. Is it deaconharold.com?
Yes.
That's it, deaconharold.com? Just go to deaconharold.com, find out about him. You can get him to come speak where you are. I'll tell you what, two things are going to happen when you have him as a speaker. You're going to draw a crowd, and that crowd is going to be fired up. Especially if you can get men together to come here, Deacon Harold Burke Sivers, you should do it. The number here, if you want to just talk with him about sharing the faith with others, 888-318-7884. I'm very aware that many people are on the road and may not have heard us before, so I just want to keep letting you know who we are. It's called Catholic Answers, our organization. We're in Southern California, in San Diego, as a matter of fact, and you can find us at Catholic.com. You can send us an email at radio@Catholic.com if you ever want to send an email, radio@Catholic.com. But what you could really do is pick up the phone and call if you've got a question for Deacon Harold, 888-318-7884. I want to ask you this because you wrote the book on Father Tolton, and he suffered a great deal, but he didn't become a bitter jerk. And so I just want to ask you about the role of not necessarily the role of suffering, but the role of the willingness to suffer in evangelizing, in sharing the good news.
Yeah, I think that's really important because Jesus says, if you are to be my disciple, right? And the disciple is one who hears, understands, accepts, and puts into practice by the witness of their life, the teachings of Jesus Christ and the Catholic faith. You must deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow me. So inherent in discipleship is suffering. But remember, for us as people of faith, suffering is redemptive, right? That there's a purpose and there's a teleology to suffering. It's not just, dealing with the pain. It's a participation in the suffering of Christ. Psalm 90, which is the one psalm written by Moses, he says, our span is 70 years or 80 for those who are strong. And most of these are emptiness and pain, or actually in Hebrew, toil and pain. They pass swiftly and we are gone, right? So even Moses in the Psalms recognizes that suffering is an inherent part of life. So it's not trying to avoid what our culture does. We try to avoid suffering because we think it's ultimately meaningless. For us as Christians, it's about finding meaning in the suffering that's unavoidable.
Right.
So suffering comes. So for example, I was giving a talk last year at a middle school, and I'm not going to say where this middle school was. It's supposed to be a Catholic school, okay? And just in passing, I didn't go into any detail at all. This was middle school kids. I didn't go into any detail. The talk was called Truth, Freedom, and the Human Person. So I was talking about some challenges that we have in the culture today. And just in passing, I mentioned, for example, we live in a culture that says that a child in the womb is not a person, it's a blob of tissue, that old people are worthless. And so we have to euthanize them or offer them assisted suicide, even those who are terminally ill, to avoid suffering. Marriage is a man and woman. Boys are actually males and girls are actually female. Just in passing, just like that.
Right,
and
right.
I kept. So I got there were some parents and some teachers there, and I got, just show you some of the emails I got. One of them said, you chose to use this venue to express your values regarding trans, gay, abortion, and euthanasia issues. I did not appreciate your intensity or tone when your long, meandering narrative landed on these topics. I didn't go into any detail. I literally just mentioned them in passing, just like I did just now. This audience was not the appropriate place for you to indulge in your aggressive, bizarre, shameful behavior. I thought you were angry, weird, and creepy. And this is a separate email. You came across as a bozo, a fanatical Catholic weirdo, and someone who didn't seem very bright. So
wow.
So that's the suffering, okay? Just a couple of months ago, I gave that exact same talk at another Catholic middle school. And I got a note from the principal that said, I just wanted to share with you, because I came home from being away for a week, and I had this envelope that was like several inches thick. And I thought, oh boy, somebody sent me a manuscript, that they want me to read or something like that. So I opened it up, and on the cover of it was a letter from the principal. I wanted to share with you how much the students enjoyed your visit.
So we got
grandparents.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And then the kids, the stack was all these like handwritten, not just little notes, but letters, like full on letters by some of the students. It was beautiful. One of them said, sometimes I feel like God doesn't want me anymore, but now I know that he will always want me. You made me think about how much of a role God plays in my life. I'm very excited to share what you told me and apply it to my life. Another one said, you are an inspiration. I've personally been going through a hard time trying to stand firm in my faith in today's world, but you have helped me to succeed in expressing my faith even more. Now I feel that I can get through almost anything with God by my side and your words in my mind.
Isn't that something?
Cy, that's the exact same talk that I gave at the other school. Look at the reactions, right? So the one is the suffering, but the other one is the redemption. Right?
Yeah, that's right. It's so indicative, though, of, and I think it's why many people are afraid to talk. And I'm so glad that you're not, because you are going to get those negative reactions, but that is not the end of the story. And even in that school where parents couldn't process what you were saying and had a little fit and had to send you those notes, some kid is going to process it. Some kid is going to understand it and be edified by it.
Yeah, and at the end of the talk, the kids were clapping, and a couple of yelled out, "When are you coming back?" Yeah. So, And I didn't get any letters from the kids.
No.
These were letters from the parents and some teachers.
Yeah.
But what was beautiful about the second school, these were the kids themselves. Now, remember, Bishop Barron said the age that we're losing kids to the culture where they made the intellectual decision, I'm no longer Catholic, is 13 years old.
Yep.
And you just heard excerpts. So, I mean, I can show you. I got the stack behind me here of those letters. These are 11, 12, 13-year-olds.
So you've just got to be willing to take the good with the bad, or the bad with the good, maybe is the way to say it, because we live in a world of the wheat is mixed in with the chaff, and it's wild that you would go into a Catholic school and say something like a boy is a boy and a girl is a girl, and someone would say that's weird and creepy that you think that. That is wild. But I hope what people will hear from that is not, oh, you should be more afraid, but you should be less afraid. Stop worrying about what people think, because you could say the most basic things that everybody agreed on 2 years ago, like that a boy is a boy and a girl is a girl, and it's going to upset somebody. Stop worrying about it. Share the good news.
I'm not going to lie to you, Cy, it hurt. When I read those, when the emails first came, I was hurt.
Yeah.
And I thought, what did I say? I mean, and again, what creeps into your mind, right? Maybe I should pull back. Maybe I should water it down. Maybe because how I speak, Cy, I'm passionate.
Right.
But some people interpret passion as anger. And I can't remember the last time I was angry. I literally cannot remember the last time I was. You know the why. I'm passionate and my voice gets elevated. I'm using I grew up around Italians, right?
Yeah.
So I'm using my hands a lot. And so they're not used to people presenting the faith that way. So it came across them as being angry, whereas I gave the same presentation. I prayed to the Holy Spirit and I said, nope, don't change anything. I gave the exact same talk, didn't change a word. And much different reaction, the same passion. In fact, some of the kids said, I love your passion, enthusiasm, excitement.
Right.
And so it's just, how people hear the gospel. Some people don't like my style, and that's okay.
No.
Then don't come see me. Don't invite me to your parish, and that's fine.
Right.
People like the cerebral, academic, classroom, talking head presentation, and that's fine. And I love sitting through presentations, because what matters ultimately, Cy, is the content.
Yeah.
What are you saying? Are you bringing me to deeper intimacy with Christ? Yes, you can be more passionate like I am, or you can be more like a talking head. It doesn't matter. What ultimately matters is the content. And how is this bringing me into deeper intimacy with the Lord and helping me share my faith with others?
Again, 888-318-7884, the number. Deacon Harold Burke Sivers, our guest. We're going to Dylan in Aurora, Illinois, listening on the Catholic Answers Live app. Dylan, thanks for downloading the app onto your phone. Thanks very much for the call. Go ahead with your question for Deacon Harold Burke Sivers.
Hey, thank you very much.
So Dylan's question?
Here he goes. Go ahead, Dylan.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
We can, yeah.
Delightful. Hey, so my question was regarding just having conversations with people and, delving into apologetics and such. And so one thing I really noticed, especially people with a more naturalistic, materialistic sort of framework, I often notice they kind of have like a Christian presupposition. And I want to see if you can help me try to elaborate on it. So oftentimes, I should say, as Christians, we believe, all people are equal and made in the image of God, inherently valuable and all that. But I find that people on a naturalistic framework kind of smuggle in that sort of Judeo-Christian presupposition in and reject the author of, that belief. So I'm just wondering if there is a kind way to kind of point that out, because, oftentimes a common retort will be, what, you think without God you're just going to go around killing people? And it can get very defensive pretty quick. So I'm just wondering if there's a cordial and considerate way to kind of talk about that with someone.
Okay, thanks, Dylan.
Yeah, thank you, Dylan, very much. So one of the things that we're in a situation like that is, first of all, not to get defensive and take it personally, right? Because when I hear someone that's more aggressive like that, or seems to take an attacking tone, or is trying to, like you said, kind of echo back kind of this pseudo faith in their response to me, what I'm hearing is, I'm hurting, please help me. I'm lost, please show me the way. And because they don't have an authentic Christian framework, they're trying to use our words against us, right? So what I do in a situation, for example, with an atheist, I'm not going to go through the whole thing because this took about 15 minutes with the guy, but I was literally shopping, and I think I was getting beans or corn or something like that, and I was leaning over getting the can, and this guy comes the other way, and I was wearing my crucifix, miraculous metal, and the cart stopped. I didn't pay any attention to it, but when I looked up, the guy was looking at me. And he saw the crucifix. Oh, you're one of those Jesus freaks. Your religion is the cause for all the problems in the world today. He just went into this diatribe. And then at the end, he goes, and you can't even prove to me that your God exists. And I said, oh, well, how about I show you that it's possible that God could exist? How about that? And so he said, okay. And so I took my cell phone out and I put it on the shelf. And I said, is my phone moving right now, yes or no? And he said, yes, it is moving. I said, because the earth is moving. I said, okay, look, relative to the rotation of the earth, is the phone moving, yes or no? He said, no. I said, in order for that phone to move from where it's sitting right now, what do I have to apply to that object? He said, a force, right? This is mass times acceleration. So in order for that phone to move, I have to pick it up, knock it over, tornado has to come. There has to be some force that moves that phone from a state of potential to actual motion, from a state of rest to unrest. And or else the phone will not move, because physics says an object that is at rest will continue to remain at rest until impelled by a force. And he said, yes, that's logic and science. I said, do we have objects in the universe that are moving? He thought about it. I said, it's not a trick question. He said, yes, of course. The earth is moving. The moon is moving. They're rotating around the sun. We have comets and meteorites and light. All kinds of things are moving. And you just agreed with me that things don't move unless impelled by a force. What caused all the motion in the first place? And he said, the Big Bang. And I said, amen, because that theory was developed by a Catholic priest. No, it wasn't. I said, get out your phone, type in Father George Lemaitre. Let me spell it for you. Tell me what the search results say. So he went it, and sure that I think it was the third one. He goes, the founder of the Big Bang theory. He goes, oh. I said, okay, so you said the Big Bang. Great. What caused the Big Bang? And he had no answer, right? And so I did two more examples like that. And all three examples, he had no answer. And in these examples, Dylan, I never once mentioned God. Not once. I didn't once mention faith. I just used his language, right, to show. Now, those three examples, what were they? They were 3 of the 5 proofs of the existence of God by St. Thomas Aquinas. But I disguised them in a way that he was able to hear what I'm saying. Because okay, we're back again. So Dylan, if I were to say to him, okay, let me prove to you God exists. Here's what St. Thomas Aquinas says. He doesn't know who Jesus is. He don't care who St. Thomas Aquinas is. So what we have to do is take this rich, deep, beautiful faith and turn it into a cell phone, right? Just like I did. And so does that help at all, Dylan, that example?
Yeah, no, I think that is very helpful. I guess, I don't know if there's anything specific you would address with like the human worth, dignity, and intrinsic aspect of it, or if that's more you're thinking of just kind of repackaging and reframing the conversation as kind of a solution. Oh,
I see. Yeah. So in that case, to be honest with you, the best person I've ever seen on that issue in a more adversarial relationship is Trent Horn. He has a training. I don't know if I don't know if I have it. Let me see if I have it bookmarked here. I used to have it bookmarked. It's an amazing training that he did, which I believe was in the Archdiocese of San Francisco, where he's talking about training people how to have these kinds of conversations about human life and the dignity of the human person when someone's being aggressive to you. It was so well done. And I refer that training to people all the time. So Trent Horn is amazing. So on that specific one, you want tools on how to effectively evangelize in that realm and that environment, Trent Horn is definitely the go-to person for that.
I'd like to continue the conversation, but I'm a little bit late for a break, so I got to take the break. We'll be right back with more Sharing the Faith with Deacon Harold Burke Sivers on Catholic Answers Live.
Let us help you with your question today on Catholic Answers Live.
EWTN, helping people grow in their love and understanding of God.
I just want to share that 5 years ago, my lovely warrior princess and saint of a wife and I decided to adopt a little girl through foster care. She is the perfect round out of our family of 3 boys and her. Yes, there are challenges. Very grateful today for all the blessings that he has shown our family.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
If you've never been to EWTN's free family celebration, this is your year. Your EWTN family is waiting for you where it all began in Birmingham, Alabama. Join us Saturday, August 26th as we celebrate Mother Angelica's love for the Eucharist and mark the centennial year of Mother's birth. For more information on this free event, visit EWTN.com/family celebration. We want to see you there.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Deacon Harold Burke Sivers is our guest. I'm realizing how different I am from Deacon Harold. If somebody in the grocery store looked at my crucifix and said, your religion caused all the troubles in the world, my answer would not be like, okay, let's talk about that. I would point and I'd say, look, there's a bear over there. And when they looked, I would run away. That's how I would deal with that, because that would freak me out. I can't believe you just go, oh, okay, let's talk about this. I'd be like looking at his hands. Does he have a weapon?
Well, no, it's funny because a lot of people would freeze up like a deer in the headlights.
Oh, I would.
Or try to get out of that situation or attack back.
Yeah.
But when you, and I mean, I'm in my 50s now, right? So there's a certain level of maturity, and you do see a few of the books that I have behind me here.
Yeah.
And so I do read them. And so I try, and like I'm in the airport and I'm walking between gates, or I'm sitting on the plane, which I do frequently.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about what if someone came up to me right now and said this? What would I say? How would I respond? And I kind of rehearse in my head, so I take these wonderful books that I have, and I take the knowledge that I gain from them and say, how do I take this and apply it to the everyday lived experience? So it's not just an ivory tower.
So you're ready when the time comes.
Not information swimming in my head, but how do I take the head and the heart and connect them in a way that gets the faith across to people so they'll want to hear, again, more of what I have to say.
But you made a choice, too, because that guy said to you, your religion has caused all the problems that the world has, and you can't prove that your God exists. You ignored the first part, the accusation, and you just went calmly with the second thing, which I think there's a lesson in that right there for anybody listening, that it's possible to not go, you're wrong, my religion never did, and then start listing all the saints or something. You can just let it go and move on to something that'll allow you to open the conversation.
And what helped me in that respect, Cy, was actually marriage. Because I was a Benedictine, right? So when I left the monastery and got involved in a serious relationship, and ultimately got married, sometimes women, when they say things, they say something, but that's not really what they want to say. There's something deeper there. So I've learned over the years to ignore the stuff, but let's get to really what the real question is, or what the real issue is.
Yeah.
And so I applied that same mode of listening to these conversations about evangelization.
That's wonderful.
Well.
Marriage is supposed to be a school in charity, and that's what it's been. Let's go to Atlanta, Georgia. Ryan, listening to EWTN on Channel 130, Sirius XM Satellite Radio. Ryan, go ahead with your question for Deacon Harold Burke Sivers.
Hey, my question is, how do you share your faith in somewhere where you're not supposed to talk about religion, like the workplace and the office?
That's a great question. Yeah. So I would say this. Sometimes you can say things without saying them, right? So, for example, your witness and example, how you talk to people, how you do your job. For example, Ryan, when I first moved to Oregon, I worked for the Salem School District, and I was head of police services and security. And at that time, it was Columbine, all those things going on. So I was doing a number of safety and security trainings at the schools. And I was coming out of 12:05 Mass that I tried to go to every day when I worked in Salem. And a woman came up and tapped me on the shoulder. And I turned around, she goes, "I knew there was something about you." And I said, "Excuse me?" She said, I'm a teacher in the schools here, and you came and did a training for our staff at the school. And I could tell, you didn't mention Jesus or faith or God or anything like that, but I can tell when you spoke to us, you were interested more than not just the building, the school district's assets, or the buildings, or any. You cared about us. See, so how could she pick that up? Even though I never talked about faith, I didn't wear a crucifix, nothing like that, but she still could tell that I cared about them. See, so that's the same kind of ethos that we have to develop when we're going into workplace, right? How do you treat your fellow coworkers, right? And when someone's talking about someone behind their back, do you step and say, "Hey, wait a minute, that's not cool," and we should show them the same respect that they want to show to us, or something like that.
Yeah.
So they can tell there's something there, and maybe that will lead to a deeper question. And another quick example I have, Ryan, I was in Singapore. I've been in Singapore 4 or 5 times, but I think the third time I was there, I was invited by the Singapore government to help give a talk on marriage. And they said I couldn't talk about Jesus. So I'm thinking to myself, how do I give a talk about marriage and kids without talking about Jesus? And the reason for that, it was a public talk. And their rules for public talks is you can't talk specifically about any kind of religious tradition. So it doesn't matter if you're Buddhist, Muslim, Hindu, Christian. It wasn't discrimination. It was like, that's just their rule for public talks. And so, and I have pictures on my Facebook page. It was at Singapore Management University. The place was packed. I mean, it was 2-tiered auditorium, packed. People were sitting on the floor, standing in the back. And I walked out there and I gave a talk on marriage, never mentioning Jesus once. And when they did exit polling after the talk, and these were mostly Buddhists, Muslims, and Hindus and Christians that were there. The lowest rating, they give a scale of 1 to 5, 90.
Oh wait, 90 what? He cut out on us. We were just about to get the statistic. Deacon Harold, you cut out.
93% of the people gave me a 4 or a 5, and the rest gave me a 3. Not bad for giving a public talk about marriage without talking about the faith. So, Ryan, I hope that helps, that it's possible. Because what did I do? I made a connection with the natural moral law, right? Because that's something that was planted by God, even though they may not believe in God, but there's something there. And Paul talks about this in Romans chapter 1 and Romans chapter 2, about knowing the coming to know the unseen God, how we can know about God through nature and through the environment. And so I helped make those connections, and people got it. So I hope that's helpful for you, Ryan.
Okay, Ryan?
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much. It's hard to live in such a way that there's that the Christianity comes through, even in a place where, like maybe you work in a government job or something. But I have had that experience of where you're at the DMV, where you're the most anonymous creature in the world, but that person is treating you in a way that there's something special about that person. And sometimes only later I'll notice, oh, they've got a cross over here, or they've got, so that in other words, preaching with your behavior is very hard work. But you think people don't notice, but they do.
They do.
Deacon Harold Burke Sivers is our guest. Please pray for him as he heads off across the Pacific to talk in New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, and Australia. And Deacon, if you would give us and our listeners your blessing before you go, please.
Sure. May Almighty God bless you and keep you, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Safe travels.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, Dr. Francis Beckwith will be with us. He's one of the speakers at our upcoming conference. We're going to talk to him about church and state, religion and government. It's a hot button issue here in the U.S. Tomorrow's the 4th of July. Perfect time to talk about it. Your calls are welcome. 888-318-7 884.